and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyaso. Tonight, court remands former Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Bala Mohammed, in Kuje prison following his arraignments for alleged false declaration of assets. Senate accuses Bureau of Public Procurement officials of corruptly enriching themselves, resolves to investigate allegations of underhand dealings. Federal Executive Council clears the air over Professor Yemi Oshibajo's status as acting president, describes debates as needless distractions, and US President Donald Trump defends sack of FBI Director James Comey, insists he's done Americans a favor.
And on business news tonight, global ratings firm Fitch says Nigerian banks' impressive performance in 2016 may be difficult to repeat.
And on sports news tonight, FIFA confirms 9 automatic slots for Africa in the 48-team World Cup in 2026.
And from Abuja, United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, seeks adequate protection for northeast Nigerian refugees returning from neighboring countries.
We begin in Abuja, where a former minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Bala Mohammed, has been remanded in Kuje prison pending his application for bail before the High Court of the FCT sitting at Gudu in Abuja. Mr. Mohammed was arraigned by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on a 6-count charge, including false declaration of assets and bribery in the sum of 864 million naira. The defendant pleaded not guilty to all counts, and his counsel applied for bail on liberal grounds and self-recognizance. Our correspondent Yemi Sikwe reports.
The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, sitting in Gudu, Abuja, is the location for the arraignment of the former Minister of the FCT, Senator Bala Mohammed, who had been rearrested by the EFCC on the 3rd of May 2017, following a previous arrest in October 2016, as well as detention. The 6-count charge arraignment includes that in 2014, whilst being Minister of the FCT, he accepted the gratification of a house in the Asokoro district of Abuja worth 550 million naira as a reward for performing official duties. That on the 24th of October 2016, he made false declarations regarding properties in Abuja and Kaduna. And that in 2014 he used his office to confer corrupt and undue advantage on associates by allocating them duplexes worth 314 million naira. The defendant pleaded not guilty to each count. Defence counsel then applied for bail on the grounds of self-recognition, the defendant's ill health, and a previous grant of administrative bail. Prosecuting counsel opposed the bail application, arguing that any bail conditions should be stringent. Justice Talba adjourned proceedings to the 12th of May to give his ruling and remanded the defendant in custody at Kuje prison. Counsel for the former minister comments,
"We brought the application that he should be granted bail. One is his entitlement, that's the provision of the Constitution. And he's a responsible citizen of this country, even as admitted by the prosecution. He's a a prominent citizen of this country. We are saying that he will not jump bail. He has responsible people to take him on bail, and that in this is special case, he should even be granted bail on self-recognizance."
Prosecuting counsel responds,
The issue before hand is so endemic. We want to use our procedure. Everybody should adhere to the procedure. You cannot say, come to court and just from there you go. It is our prerogative to oppose bail. If bail is granted like on the platter of gold, he may not suffice for his trial. And that will affect our own statutory mandate.
The high-profile trial of the former minister of the FCT will soon start in earnest, but whether he will be granted bail and on what conditions will be crucial in directing the next stage of this case. Yemisi Ipaya, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Narcotics and Financial Crimes, Honorable Adams Jagaba, has denied any connection with the alleged $620,000 bribe which the former chairman of the House Ad Hoc Committee on Fuel Subsidy, Mr. Farouk Lawan, allegedly received from the billionaire businessman Mr. Femi Otedola in 2012. Mr. Lawan is accused of accepting the bribe in exchange for the removal of Mr. Telala's company, Xenon Petroleum and Gas Limited, from the list of firms indicted by the House Committee for allegedly abusing the fuel subsidy regime in 2012. Although the prosecutor was unavailable for comments, lawyer to Mr. Lawan faulted the decision of the court to refuse his application, seeking to recall a witness for further cross-examination.
The judge delivered a ruling refusing our earlier application to recall a witness, the second prosecution witness. The second prosecution witness had testified and we were cross-examining. But one of my juniors, Nkem Okoro Esquire, started cross-examining because I was personally involved in my case against the EFCC in Lagos, which I won. And he told the court that I am personally handling this matter and that the court needed to grant an adjournment. The prosecution counsel raised an objection that he wouldn't agree. And that day, the judge ruled that the adjournment was refused. I now brought a motion for a recall of the witness under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Today, the court refused that application. And I have told the court, and I have told my learned brother Silk, Awomolo, senior advocate of Nigeria, that I want to test this case. We need to broaden the horizon of our laws. We need to open up new vistas.
And staying with legal matters, a federal high court in Kano has dismissed the application filed by a former managing director of the state oil firm NNPC, Andrew Yakubu, seeking to quash an interim order of forfeiture secured by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Justice Zainab Abubakar also said the court has jurisdiction to hear the case, contrary to the argument by Mr. Yakubu's counsel. The judge also ruled that the application seeking to set aside the case lacks the basic legal framework and that the EFCC is competent, according to Section 29 of its Act, to seek for the order of interim forfeiture. The EFCC had on February the 13th secured the Federal High Court order on the forfeiture of over $9.8 million retrieved from Mr. Yakubu's house in Kaduna. The Ikebiri community in Bayelsa State has dragged the parent company of the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company, ENI, to an Italian court over the oil spill liabilities and pollution. A community coastal settlement in southern Ijaw local government area is seeking the cleanup and compensation for damages from an oil spill that affected their community in 2010. Meanwhile, the media spokesperson of ENI, Mr. Marilia Chione, has confirmed receiving the litigation, promising that the company will take action on the matter soon. This is coming after the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, and the Minister of State for Petroleum, Ibe Kachiku, held a meeting over the Malabu OPL 245 scandal. The meeting focused on issues relating to Ajib's investment, which is also part of OPL 245. The Senate is accusing the Bureau of Public Procurement of engaging in underhand dealings in the issuance of certificates of no objection for contracts awarded by procurement entities. The upper chamber has therefore mandated its Committee of Public Procurement to investigate allegations of officials abusing the powers of the BPP. The Senate took this resolution after federal lawmaker Senator Dino Melaye alleged that monumental corruption is taking place in that agency.
You will be shocked that monumental corruption is going on in the BPP, and that is why we have a contract that is supposed to be awarded at 20 million, awarded at 200 million, and it will undergo the Federal Executive Council, and it will be approved. The Senate observed that BPP has consistently engaged in underhand dealings with respect to the grant of certificate of no objection, abusing these powers to make pecuniary gains. The Senate further observes that such gross abuses and violation of Public Procurement Act 2007 has been exacerbated by the recent increase in arbitrary nomination of procuring entities, of winners for tendering processes, and where the procurement entity declines, the process is interjected and frustrated in bad faith and for flimsy reasons.
With an infrastructure deficit of over 2 trillion naira hanging over the nation's neck within the next 3 decades, Nigerians want to see the country's treasury managed properly. Recent discoveries of stolen funds hidden in various apartments in the country have revealed the rate at which resources may have been plundered by those who were meant to judiciously administer them. Our correspondent Chris Ilems reports.
At the inception of this administration, President Muhammad Buhari declared that over $100 billion of public funds stolen were held in foreign accounts. Amidst the struggle to fix infrastructure deficit in the country due to paucity of funds, recent revelation shows how much of damage had been done to the nation's treasury. The 50 billion naira found at the Ikoyi apartment, $10 million hidden in a slum in Kaduna, the 200 billion naira pension scandal, $16 billion alleged power scam, the $12 billion oil windfall are only sad reminders of the rot in our system, which, according to University Don Dr. Ashiru, has been part of us since the pre-colonial days.
Talking about embezzlement in government, we also recall that the Foster Sutton Commission that was set up in 1956 indicted a number of leading political office holders, particularly in the Western region, when it has to do with, the propriety of the handling of the funds of the African Continental Bank. Quite a number of leading politicians at that time were indicted for corrupt tendencies. And also in 1962, the Coca Commission also indicted a lot of leading political officers in the Western region.
According to American scholar Warren Bennis, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. This appears to be an attribute far from our leaders. Clinical psychologist Francis Akinkumi provides an insight into the mind of an average corrupt leader.
People whose conscience are poorly developed are more vulnerable into taking these type of maladaptive behavior into practices. For instance, people who are narcissistic personality disorders, who have this trait, they are individuals who are never concerned about the feelings of others. They are always centered on their own personal fulfillment, and of course, at most period in time in their life, they are always grandiose, and they want to be seen by others as somebody that is relevant and someone to be admired.
With over 170 million followers watching the scene and probably vulnerable to being influenced, veteran journalist Jimmy Disu thinks more needed to be done in fighting corruption in the country than merely exposing the culprit.
Our approach to corruption by just condemning it at all times and exposing it is not the solution. We must find a way where those who have legitimate earnings can live at least an average comfortable life. Look at what is happening to the pensioners, for example. How does that encourage somebody who is already working in government when he knows that, look, the day you leave the government, okay, it will take you 3-4 years to get your pension. The pension is not going to, even what you are earning whilst you're still working cannot take you home, talk less of a pension. Every human being will look for an alternative. Let's be adults about this thing.
Moral bankruptcy in leadership, the dearth of needed infrastructure, place serious limitation on human capital development and our inability to provide answer to the question of how long this would continue cast a dark shadow over the nation's drive to move forward and the future of the generation yet unborn. Chris Ilems, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, the President's wife, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, meets rescued Chibok girls, assures them of the federal government's commitment to their welfare. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.